Welcome to Episode 3 of the Pressure Point Dojo here on Channel Fight. I'm Chris Thomas. We have been talking about the art of pressure point fighting, which is called kyusho-jitsu, and the fact that when you first look at it, it can seem incredibly complicated. I've told you that by thinking of it in terms of four basic ideas, four key principles, you can put all of the other pieces of it into one of these four buckets and understand how it all kind of fits together. So this is a sort of shorthand approach. It doesn't mean that you'll know everything, but it does mean that you'll have a sense of overall comprehension. You'll be able to see how things fit. And the end result is what I call pressure point fighting for dummies. Because it'll make it so simple to do, and you'll be able to see that it is really practical when you're under stress in a real-life situation. So we've already talked about area control, which is the way individual points affect the joint, cause a hand to open, cause a joint to bend, ways of activating the reflex nervous system to create predictable responses in the body. One of the things that happened, though, is that things got a little more complicated right away when we talked about the next one, which was a systemic compromise. Suddenly, I was talking about these things called meridians, this deeper idea about pressure points. The reason this happened was originally, people talk about pressure points, they just talk about a pressure point. Well, here's one here, and here's one here, and here's one here, as if they're just sort of dots that you can aim for. But what begins to show up in the practice is that when you start hitting more than one dot, some combinations work better than others. I mean, we can talk about the reflex and the nerves and the responses in the body, the things that are causing a particular point to act a certain way. But when we start putting them together and get enhanced results, that's much harder to explain. In his book on karate called Karate do Kyohan by Gichin Funakoshi, this was one of the first really good old source texts that made its way into the Western world. We had a few books written I'm dating myself. I started karate in 1970. So Funakoshi's book was one of the few really old resources available. It was written originally in 1935, and there was a translation that we had access to back in my day. And in it, there's a chapter which is called Jintai no Kyusho, which means the kyusho, the vulnerable points or the pressure points of the human body. Funakoshi says about these points, he says, these are the same points used in moxibustion. Moxibustion, acupuncture with heat. What that did was that drove us to begin to study acupuncture books and to begin to understand principles of acupuncture and to see how they could be used as a paradigm to explain what we were observing and as an algorithm to predict what combinations would work well. So when we were talking about systemic compromise in the last episode, we were talking about an acupuncture concept, the idea of the meridians, and the idea that by attacking multiple points on a meridian, you would get an enhanced effect. Well, the next chunk of this is called Relational Artifact. This is more bigger, deeper about how points relate to each other, but even more critically, how points on different meridians relate to each other. And this is the part in particular that looks really complicated. In some sense it is. I mean, there's got more pieces to it, but if you understand that all the pieces are just relational artifact, and we're just talking about different forms of relational artifact, it shouldn't be too terrible for you to follow. However, it does mean that I have to kind of divide this one section between two episodes. So today we're going to cover the first part and kind of get into it. We'll talk about like yin-yang theory and some things like that. So bear that in mind because that's going to come up later. The next of the four principles is called relational artifact. That's a fancy word for the fact that what it is systemic compromise is how my attacking a meridian affects just that thing. A relational artifact is how that impacts other parts of the body, related elements in the body. Now, this is where it gets a little mucky for a lot of people, because we start talking about the principles of yin and yang, diurnal cycle, 5-element theory, and that's where this is going to be the point where it starts to feel overwhelming. But understand, all of these things are just examples of the same fundamental principle. It goes like this. If I attack a point, the body diverts energy to that point. It also prevents energy from leaving the meridian. So, see, meridian's like a river. Water's always going through. That's the chi. That's the energy that you use. The water goes through the meridian, enters into a different meridian, keeps going. What's going to happen is the body has to stop that from happening, because I can't afford to lose energy if I'm fighting, so I need to defend. So I not only am going to draw reinforcements from elsewhere in the meridian, systemic compromise, I'm also going to defend myself by not allowing resources to leave the meridian. And what that means is, so I'm going to use large intestine 10 on the outside of his arm. I'm not going to hit it. It's a hit point, but I'm not going to hit it. I'm going to, again, use my finger. There's a way to manipulate it with your finger. That's just a trick that we use later on to attack hit points without actually hitting them. But when I do this, I'm attacking the large intestine. Here's what that means. It means the large intestine doesn't want to give up any energy, so it stops the flow of energy out of the meridian into the next meridian in what is known as the 24-hour cycle, or the diurnal cycle. Well, the next meridian in the 24-hour cycle is the stomach meridian. I want you to see how this works. So if you look right here, this is stomach 5 right here. When I press on his large intestine point, you see his stomach 5 comes towards me. It comes towards me. If I actually hit the point, one of the things you'll see is that it really comes towards me. It almost is like going, hit me, hit me, hit me. And so of course, I would oblige, because, don't look a gift point in the mouth. So this is an example of how diurnal cycle works. And diurnal cycle is everywhere in the body. If I hit, say, the triple warmer meridian, if I tap on the triple warmer meridian like this, look right there, that's the gallbladder. And you can actually see how his gallbladder is in line with my hand. I struck on triple warmer. Triple warmer energy goes into gallbladder. What's happened is the triple warmer stops the energy going into gallbladder. Gallbladder is depleted, and it's right there for me to hit. And this is just sort of standard stuff. Oh, there it is, bang. It's automatic, because this is what's happening. The body is preventing the energy from moving on. The next rule that comes under the category relational artifact. So the first rule is the diurnal cycle. The next rule is called the rule of yin and yang. So what you have to imagine now is this point is under attack. It's not going to let energy leave. It calls for reinforcements from the meridian. Now it has to call for reinforcements from its closest ally. The closest ally is the yin or the yang paired meridian. So all meridians are in pairs. Lung is paired with large intestine. One is yin, one is yang, but they have the same element. Heart is paired with small intestine. One is yin, one is yang, but they have the same element. So this is a characteristic of yin and yang. They're sometimes called husband and wife in Chinese medicine. So it's the husband or the wife that you call for help. And so they have to come running. That means if I press here on his stomach, this is his stomach meridian. I'm sorry, this is his lung meridian, lung 5. But what I want you to see is, I'll do it on this side so you can watch. This right here is the large intestine meridian. It's right on the side here. But when I press on that, you see how it stretches? You can actually see it stretch. This is weakened. It's very easy to tap this. Now, if he's just standing here like this and I tap it, I don't get any kind of reaction at all. But if I do this, there it is. Okay, so this exposes this. It's really, really simple. This is the yin and the yang. So if I attack a point on large intestine, I can go after lung. If I attack a point on lung, I can go after large intestine. Well, let's show you an example the other direction. Here's the large intestine point. This is a lung point over here. Here's a lung point over here. If I just hit this point, it hurts. If I do this first, it's worse. Yin and yang. It's because by attacking the meridian, this calls for reinforcements from its closest ally, from the spouse meridian, and the spouse meridian is weakened.
Back when I started training with Grandmaster Thomas, this was probably 2005, I was at that point probably training for maybe 15, 16 years in the martial arts, and I'd met him, and I started to train. After a couple of years, people were asking me why I liked training with him. One of the reasons I liked it was within the first couple classes that some people had asked him a question, and his answer was, "I don't know." And I thought that was kind of a refreshing take for a teacher. I was so used to dealing with teachers that had a lot of ego, and they wanted to always have an answer for everything. And I thought it was really refreshing as a teacher myself to be able to have a teacher that was able to say, "Hey, I don't know, but let's figure it out," or "Let's try this," or "Let's try that." And so for me, that kept me coming back because I wanted to be able to emulate a teacher like that. And so to this day, that's why I'm still here.
Masterclass with Chris Thomas is an extensive library of in-depth video instruction covering Ishinryu Karate, Ryukyu Kempo, Tai Chi, Okinawan weapons, and so much more. It's a great value at $399 per year, but as a viewer of the Pressure Point Dojo, you can subscribe for only $119 per year. That's an amazing 60% discount. Just use the promo code Dojo when you subscribe. That's DOJO in all capital letters. I'm really proud of the content that is found on Masterclass with Chris Thomas. I've worked really hard and I'm always adding new content. So it's a fantastic resource and it will help you a lot. And, just remember, first use the promo code Dojo when you subscribe, which will get you that amazing 60% off deal. So it's only $119 for the entire year for the subscription. And then just recall that once you subscribe, there's that delay before I've had a chance to activate your account. So be patient, but know that your patience will be well rewarded by the amazing content you'll have access to. I told you earlier to pay attention to the concept of yin and yang, because in this next video, we're just playing around with a single point. It's a point on the leg called kidney 10. It produces a good result without injury. It doesn't. You can tell that the person who's on the receiving end of it, the one who serves as uke, does not get hurt at all. But you're going to see two things. Here's the first thing. Kyusho-jitsu Kenkyukai. Kenkyukai means research group. It actually describes what we do. We're constantly trying to figure new stuff out, or figure things out more deeply, or see things that we haven't seen before. So it's an ongoing and continuous learning process. You're going to see that happen actually on this video. You watch it and it will be there. But what you'll also see is that what we end up exploring is an example of the yin and yang principle. That idea that you have the husband and the wife. The yin meridian kidney goes along with the yang meridian bladder. So let's go into the master class. Kidney 10 is inside, kind of along the tendon over here. And what that means is instead of coming straight from behind this way, I'm going to come in at a slight angle and I'm going to aim here into spleen or into kidney 10. And I just... And you see what that does to the body, how that just kind of, and there he is. So now we can see how useful this can be in a situation of a third-party intervention.
I'm just curious, do that technique again without touching your shoulder.
Oh, that's a good question. Am I creating a circuit? And I wasn't pulling, I was just touching. Yeah, all right. So just like I'm doing in a hanchi kick, I come in here and I'm going to catch that point. You're right. What an interesting thing. Okay, let's play with that some more. Good catch, man. See, I'm learning. All right, so watch this. I do the kick, boom, works really good. See how it turns him? But if I touch and create a circuit, the effect is worse. I'm not doing anything but making contact. Especially now, if you look here, if you touch over here, just up here by the side of the neck, you're touching the bladder meridian on the opposite side. And just that finger contact is enough to make the effect amplified. Interesting, huh? Now, obviously, you can pull and yank, but all I did was touch and kick. So this is not only a great technique, but it's also an interesting demonstration of some of the concepts we utilize. Normally, if you're going to do an intervention on somebody, you're not coming in, you're not generally walking in straight from behind like this. You're probably coming in on an angle. And so that makes this all fit together really well, because look at these. I mean, it's natural for me to come in at an angle. He's making trouble. I just walk in here. Down he goes. Okay, and yet look at how easily he got up. So that's when we're talking about causing injury and causing harm. There's no harm done. Obviously, you can control the throw. I'm trying to show you the effect of the pressure point technique. So this is incredibly useful. It's just not a point that we talk about a lot. Just want to say thank you to Joe Talander and to Richmond Grant for helping with this, and also to Chris Martingilio, because he's the one who said, wait, you're touching him. That's what makes it work better. And we got to experiment with that and see how that worked. So everything we do is an opportunity not just to teach and share knowledge, but for us to learn as well.
Hi, I'm Chris Martingilio. I'm a direct student of Grandmaster Thomas. When I first started doing pressure points, I wasn't sure this stuff would work. I looked at it, it looked like everybody was falling down. So I decided to do something. I decided to walk up and say, hit me. No! So you may have recognized me from some of the videos then to follow. The tap. Continued to get hit, and I continued to get hit, and I continued to get hit. And you keep seeing me falling down. I want you to know that I have personally tested each and every one of these techniques. Oh, yeah. For point accuracy. For knockout potential. Like this one. Ouch, that hurt. Or this one. This one? That hurt for a day or two. But I want you to know, for you, I have tested each and every one of these techniques, and the only way you're going to find out is if you walk up to somebody who knows and get hit.
That's my student Chris Martingilio, and you can reach him at mmadojo.com. That's in Madison, Wisconsin. Thanks, Chris, for that public service announcement. I want to thank you for joining me here in the Pressure Point Dojo on Channel Fight, and I look forward to seeing you again. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and now go train.